All right, well, good afternoon. Today we're going to be working on a moccasin class. Today we're going to showing you all the steps, making a pair of moccasins from the tracing of the foot to the completion. We're going to show you all the stuff you need. So right here we have all the supplies you're going to need to make a pair of moccasins. The tools are going to be a pair of leather scissors, a pair of paper scissors, an awl, a pair of small pliers, sinew, some number 4 glover's needle, and the measuring tape to measure the arch, the height of your arch. Okay, the steps to making a moccasin are first we're making these moccasins for a friend of the cultural centers. We work with other departments, and they reached out to us to make a pair of moccasins for one of our friends. So first we get a trace. We got the right foot and the left foot. That's important because your feet could be different sizes and to get a custom fit. So we have the right, the left. This right here is this 4 to 6 inch arch. That is referring to the distance across your arch right here. So you would be measuring this distance across your foot. For example, this one, starting at the 1 to the 7 is 6 inches across there. And that's what this measurement's referring to. These are the materials you're going to need to make a pair of women's moccasins. And so when it comes to the leather material, what we use here is we get all of our leather right here from Tandy's, and we use a vegetable tanned cowhide leather. And then the buckskin. And on the buckskin, it's very important to find a piece of doesn't have any holes in it, but you don't want to waste the leather either. And this is the shape you're going to cut out for the uppers of the moccasins. Well, today we're going to make a pair of women's moccasins, and what we're going to do is we start off with the tracing of the foot. So this is the left foot and the right foot, and as you can see, it's a tracing of the exact foot. Now for a pair of moccasins, you're going to want a smooth shape like that without all the bumps and ridges of your natural occurring foot. We do trace both sides of the foot because sometimes your foot could have slight variations. You want it to be as good a best fit as possible. So right now I'm going to round out this foot. You always need to go about a 1/4 inch past your toes. And if you're making this for a child, you're going to want to make it a size or 2 bigger. So it's okay to exaggerate this pattern. And right here, you're going to want to make a smooth line because it's going to be a smooth shape, almost a meat pie shape. But that's what you're going to do. You're going to round out these little edges. After you get the trace, we round out the edges and get a smooth shape. And with that, that is a tracing. That would be step 2. Trace the foot, round out the edges. Then we cut out the trace, and we'll come up with something shaped like this. I then trace these onto a harder cardstock. You can use a cereal box, you could use cardboard. But we use cardstock, and it gives you a little more firm, and they last longer. And like I said, I like to save the templates for use later on. After we get that shape, what we will do is we'll create the upper. And the upper is created on a hard cardstock like this also, and it will basically be this shape. So I'm going to create it real quick for you guys. See how easy that is to trace once you have a hard cardstock on there. We have this shape. That is the left. And then I will take my trace like that. And we are going to trace the upper, the top part of the moccasin, the part of moccasin that you normally see. There's really 3 parts to the moccasin. There's the sole, the upper, and the welt. So this is your sole, your upper, and now we're going to add the welt. And the welt is about 1 inch to 1/2 inch border that we create along the outside of the moccasin, and we sew this in to strengthen the moccasin and help with repairs. So you can see I left a little bit too far out here, so when we trace this onto the leather, we're going to have to add this part in. But that's easily fixable, and we'll do that in the next part. So after we create this shape and cut them out of the cardstock, we'll have these two patterns here. And this is preparing the materials. Next, we'll take our sole and set it on the vegetable tanned rawhide and trace it out. And with these templates, it makes it so easy to trace. You have something hard to trace around, better than the regular ledger paper. And so making moccasins is not cheap, but it's not expensive either. But you always want to conserve your material to save your money and to have respect for the animal. You just don't want to waste it. So after we trace out these, we cut out our soles. When you cut out our soles, you're going to have two shapes. They're going to come like this. So in our classes, we'll always start with the sole preparation first, and then we will move to the uppers. But first we make our templates. Hello. All right, we've come to the part where we're going to start preparing our materials. And this consists of punching the holes with an awl that we're going to thread through with our glover's needle and sinew. And this process is a little labor intensive, but it makes your lacing and sewing of the moccasin a lot easier. So here is our soles that we're going to use for the actual pair of moccasins we're making today, and I'm going to show you on an example sole we have cut out. A good practice to use when you're making your awl holes is that you want to use an extra piece of scrap leather here so you don't jab up your table. You want to make the holes about 1/8 of an inch apart, and the trick to this is coming out the side of the sole. So I'm going to go through here again, and you can see on the sole that you're actually coming out the side. That's very important. You don't want to go straight down through the moccasin, because then you'll end up walking on your laces and your moccasin will come apart very quickly. So you want to give it a space to where the sinew comes through. You don't want it right on the edge. You don't want it way back here, but you want, I would say a 1/16 of an inch or 1/8 of an inch right there. And once again, you're coming out the side of the sole, and these are just grooves for your glover's needle to go through. And that's how that is done. Eventually, you're going to come over here, and you're going to have it all the way around the whole thing. So that is how you prepare the sole. All right, hello, good afternoon, and we're going to start the assembly of the ladies' moccasin today. There's 3 parts to assembling the moccasin. There's the sole, the upper, and the welt. And we're going to sew all those together. And it's relatively simple, but just getting started and knowing the proper stitch make things a lot easier. So we're going to set the welt on top of the upper. The moccasins are assembled inside out, so we're going to start with the sole. This is where your foot would go, on top of the upper, and this is the part that's going to be on the outside of the moccasin. We're going to go with the rougher side because it's easier to clean. So basically, starting the moccasin, you're going to start at the toe and go all the way around to the heel. All the moccasins are always sewn up right at the heel, like this already made pair. And this is the left side of the pair we're preparing now. So we start at the toe, work our way to the heel and stop, and then we stitch up the back. So basically, you're going to take your needle, line up your sole to the center. You're going to have a center part. That's going to be right here. The back of your heel should line up to the center part of the back of your upper. When that's lined up, you just take your needle, go through your pre-punched holes. You're going to come out the side of your sole, like so. Then you're going to go through your upper and then your welt. And that is how you start a pair of moccasins. You want to go through leave about 1/8 of an inch between the edge. So you're not going right to the edge of the leather. You want something for it to hold on to, and it's going to curl back under. Let me show you an example here. It's going to end up curling under like these guys right here, but we're starting all the way up here. So I will do a few stitches, and this is a whip stitch, and basically you're just looping it all the way around like that. Let me do about 5 or 6 of these and show you guys exactly how it goes. So now I'll come back here, come through the toe, come out the side of the moccasin, go through the welt, and then the upper. It's always good to have these small pair of pliers around to help you pull through. I mean, moccasin making is a little labor intensive, and unless you have a vise-like grip, these pliers really come in handy. So now I'll come in here, coming out the side of the moccasin, going through the welt, and then the upper. And I'm going to leave about that much, 1/8 of a space, 1/8 of an inch. So it's coming through like that. When you very first get started, you want to keep lining it up and make sure these edges are even, and nice and flush. And, you're just going to keep doing that all the way till you get to the back of the heel. Do a couple more here. We'll come back to when we show you how to close up this heel. Like we were saying, the beauty of the welt is it makes your moccasin a lot stronger. It makes it really easy to repair. So anybody with worn out soles or blown out mocks, come check us out down here at the Cultural Center, and we'll show you how to repair them. No need to let a good pair of family moccasins go to waste. But just once you first get started, just line it up. And a lot of times people will try to go really fast, and you just want to take your time and enjoy the process. And that way, you know, you have a good stitch on every one you make. Like they say, you're only as strong as your weakest link, so you need to take your time and go through here and make a good, really attach your upper, your welt, and your sole together, and it's way more comfortable. You know, even if you're not dancing, sometimes you just got to put on your mocks and put your skins on and feel the ground a little bit. So, a lot of therapeutic value too in wearing your home base. All right, we'll come back and we'll be down here, and I will complete this moccasin, and I will show you how to sew it up. Thank you. All right, so we've come to the end of our moccasin on this one side. Like we said earlier, you start here and you work your way all the way down. You stop back here at the heel. Tying this off is an important step here to ensure the strength and integrity of your moccasin. So we're going to go through one more time, and then we are going to show you how to tie this off. And this basically, the key to this is keeping the tension on your stitches. As soon as it gets loose, it will be a chain reaction that will eventually go through the rest of your moccasin. So this has been pulled through and tightened up, not cranked on, but just tightened up. So you get down here, you're at your heel. All the moccasins we make are all sewn to completion at the heel. And those are a couple examples. So we're at the heel here. We double lace these up so we can tie it a square knot at the end and keep that tension on. So we'll go here, we'll give ourselves plenty of space to work with our so we have it like that, and this is where you tie the square knot. Some people have it, you may come in here and they'll try to loop it and tie a knot looped on itself, but the best way is to get these two and put 4 good knots in there. 3 or 4. I like to do 4. And that will hold it. And if you have a pair of your own moccasins, you can check them out on the inside, and you'll see where someone squared it off like that. And that's always a good place to start looking at is your own moccasins. On here, I'll just show you, on the finished pair, you can see that they came to the heel, they knotted it right there, they knotted it on this side, and then this is where they started their third stitch, or this is the third part of sewing up a moccasin. They started here and they whip stitched it up the heel and tied it off right here. And that's basically how all moccasins are made. So we'll go to our start stitching this other side, and we do that with I use 2 arm lengths of sinew. I'll get it and run some beeswax through there, kind of make it a little bit easier to work with, and then we will lace it through there, double it up for strength, and we will complete the other side. When we do this, you just kind of have to, treat this sinew and prepare it to go through your needle. And that's really all you got to do. Sometimes this is the hardest part, is getting it through the eye of the needle. But, well, I was going to say with a little practice it's easy, but there we go. So it's through, and then we double it up. And then I'll show you this little trick I use to make my, I wouldn't call it a slip knot, but it's what holds your, it's what fastens your moccasin to your sole and holds everything there. So I'll take it like this, I'll do a loop, and instead of tying 4 separate knots, I just take this and loop it through there 3 or 4 times. And once you do that, and pull it, it creates one good knot that you can that will hold onto your sole, and that will hold good. Take that, trim it up. So people always say, where do I start at when I start my second? Start up on the second side of my moccasins. How we do this, there's a couple different ways. You can go right next to the old. So some people like to come through this, right through the old knot, or they'll come right next to it. I'm going to go right next to it this time, because this is some good strong knots. And we come through the sole, out the side, through the welt, here's the welt, and then through the upper, about an eighth of an inch down into the leather, so it has something really good to hold on to. Pull that through. Being careful not to bend your needle as you pull it out, because that's how you break your needles. And it gets frustrating after you break your needles, but it's kind of something you have to go through when you're making your first pair of moccasins. Everyone breaks their needles, and you just got to keep going. Anything is fixable. So we just go to the left, continue with our whip stitching, and do about 3 or 4 of these, and we're going to work our way down this side, and we'll come back here and show you how we tie these up. Do the heel, and you'll have one completed moccasin. Like I said, they're a little bit labor intensive, but they're it's very satisfying to to make something and see it all the way to completion, and then to wear it and have it work, or to see a loved one wear something you made is a very satisfying feeling that we're carrying on our traditions, and we're doing them ourselves. So, you know, we consider this a traditional art. And, you know, like anything, if you put some love and care into it, it always comes about better. So with that, I will come back towards the end and we'll show you how to finish up this moccasin and sew up the heel. Okay, we've come to the end of completing stitching up our moccasin. I'm going to show you how to tie up this end and sew up the heel and complete the moccasin. So we've started here, come around here and stopped. We made another lace, laced our needle again and made another string and came all the way down here. We're going to tie this off. In fact, we're going to go through one more time, and then we're going to tie it off that same way with a square knot to keep that tension on the lacing. So we're going to go out the sole of the moccasin, the side of the sole, through the welt, to the upper. That is tied down. Now, the trick I do right here is, since it's already split in two, I just take this and pull this apart, and then it will it'll unwind on its own. This takes a little minute. And then when it gets there, we give it a couple square knots, and we still have that tension on there. Always leave yourself plenty of room to work with. It's better to have extra than not enough. So we'll go there, 1, 2, 3, 4. Trim that off. Now, this moccasin and this moccasin both look like lefts, but as I said earlier, we're making them inside out. So now it's time to flip this one out. And we are going to, I'll just put my hand inside here like this. I'll start with the toe, and then I'll just push it in on itself. And it rolls up. It'll start rolling in on itself like a stiff sock. And it all depends on the leather too. Sometimes the leather's real thick, sometimes the leather's real stiff, but you know, you just got to work with it, and you always take your time. And the leather's I don't know, pliable, malleable, but you just gotta keep working it through there, and it will roll out on itself. And you can see the toe coming out right there. So just let me kind of work it through. Just kind of rolls back on itself. There we go. Sometimes it's real easy, but this is the best way to hide those stitches and to just comes out better looking this way and stronger. So you just kind of work it through there, and it will start coming out just like that. So now we have a right and a left, and here's the welt that is hanging out over, and we trim this up. I mean, you can always just walk this off, but if you want to get them to look like this, or how this is like that, you just trim it up. So we have the sides completed. We have a slot cut out for the foot to go into. This may need to be brought down farther. It's kind of where you try them on at this point, but we're making these for a friend of ours, so we're just going to make a general guesstimation. Now on the heel, you want the heel to, you never want to cut it back this way. You want it to be straight. And so right here, we just need these two to line up. So we got a little bit extra right here, and we are going to trim this off. And I'm going to eyeball that, so I can tell it needs to have about 1/4 of an inch come off. And it's always slow, and take your time. That's that. All right, so we have a good meeting point here. Those will match up just nicely. And there might be a little bit of left. This is the ink that we traced the design out with. That will get sewn in there, or you could just trim it up. And either way, we'll be fine. I just go ahead and trim it. And then we'll worry about this later on. So the way we stitch this up is inside out again. So when I made these ones, you'll stitch them up like this. So I will make me another, thread me another piece. You don't need one quite as long because you're just going to be sewing up something about that wide. So this is plenty enough right here. Take it, let me run it through this wax. Just kind of keeps it together and makes it slide through easier, waterproofs it in a way, and it's just a good general practice to use when you're doing your moccasin making. So then I will find a good solid end to work with. Trim it at an angle. Let me find my needle. And then, it's the tricky part for me. I get it. And it is. Nope. All right. So we have the needle threaded. Double it up, pull it to a point, and we will put our little knot at the end for something to stop through, to hold in the leather. Do that circle again, go through about 3 times, and you just pull it and hit. That's a plenty big knot right there, so that will work. Trim it. You can trim it before or after. So at this point, you grab your moccasin, flip the heel inside out, and we match these up. This is the easy part. Once you get here, you're basically done. So you just whip stitch this a couple inches on the ladies' moccasins. So I'll start here at this point. The moccasin is flipped inside out. I'll start right down here by the heel. Here's where I tied off that one side. Here's where I tied off that side. And then I'll go through one more time. And if you look at your own moccasins at home or when you make a pair, you will have these little knots sewed in. And so then on the whip stitching, you're coming through and you're just lacing it through like that. And so it's just real quick. And you know, they don't have to be super close. They don't have to be super tight. You know, you just want to keep them. So there is some pressure put on the heel as you put them on. So I make them about a 1/16 of an inch apart. And then you just go right through up. So ladies' moccasins are, you know, they're not tied on like men's moccasins per se, but you do want them nice and snug. So you can see here, this is about 2 inches, sewn about roughly 2 inches up. And with the previous one, we have sewn it about 1.5 inches. So we're gonna go 1.5 inches, 2 inches on this one. You can always add to it, but it just really has to slip over the back of your heel. And should give you a nice snug fit. So you just do that about 10, 12 times. And you will have your moccasins completed. Great. And then the needle placement, you'll develop your own speed and your own technique as you move along. So let's see here. So we're gonna go a couple more, and then we should be there. We should be about that 1.5 inch, 2 inch mark, sewing up the back. And yeah, we are good. So let's come from here. Now we're gonna flip it inside out, and it is close to this one. And we do them inside out so you don't see the stitches as much, or else it would look like that. And you can do that too. Some moccasins are made with the stitching showing. It just all kind of depends on your preference of style. So at this point, we are going to tie off our heel. We're going to do this in the same technique we've done them all before with 2 or 3 square knots, and we will be done. We will have completed a pair of ladies' moccasins. The next part to complete a pair of Osage styles ladies' moccasins is we're going to edge them, and then we will add a rosette, so they will come out similar to this pair. But for now, that is one complete pair of women's moccasins. You could say Wahzhazhe, or you could just say Hompe. And here we go. All I need is for someone to wear them, and you can dance away in these. So thank you for joining us for this moccasin video, and thank you for tuning in. Please stop by the Cultural Center and we can explain how to make all these things. My name is John HorseChief, and this is from the Wahzhazhe Cultural Center. Thank you very much.